Hello. So in this lab, we will be analyzing the security of a web application using Nikto. So first of all, our objective was to find out the all the available hosts in our network. So we will specify the IP range and find out all the available hosts in that network. Then we will find the all open port and all open ports on that network, or what services are being used by that host. So we'll get some information about the services and the version they are using the nmap command. Then we will make connection using the telnet command and pretend to be a web client. So in the previous example, we do not make a connection but run a scan using the nmap command. But here we will make a connection with the our web server, and we will get information about the web server by using the telnet command. Then we will use Nikto tool to get some information about the target or web server and security weaknesses present in that. That is which versions or services that might be vulnerable to enter into the system. Then we will be scanning our target to get some information about the SSL, that is open SSL connection or some vulnerability present in that. Then we will use then we will generate a report using the Nikto command, which provide us all the vulnerabilities and other information about the web server in a report which is in the format of HTML and CSV, which is useful for us as it is in a readable form, as the output above will be apply on command line. So it is not more comfortable in not not more readable. So this generate report will be more readable and will give us the summary of what vulnerabilities are present in the server. So these are the our objective for this lab. So these objectives are same as this. First we will identify the web server running on our network host. So we will identify the network host which are available and gather information about them by using the nmap command. And then secondly, we will use make connection using telnet command to get some information about the web server. Then we will use Nikto to analyze the site and see also use Wireshark to see what Nikto is doing and analyze the security of web application. Then we will perform a SSL scan to get more information about the site in which is using OpenSSL, and then we will generate a report summarizing our finding. Means this information is not very much in readable form, but the generate report is more helpful and is more readable form. So these are our objective that we are performing in this lab. So let's start. So first of all, let's talk about the objective of this lab, that is what we will achieve by performing this lab. So we will get various commands and how to use Nikto tool to get information about a web server or service running in a computer. So we will be finding out version of Apache or other versions and information about the services used by a host or a target. And then we will also find out which server is using OpenSSL and OpenSSL version. So if there is some vulnerability in OpenSSL, we can exploit that, like heartbleed vulnerability which is find out in OpenSSL. So we will be analyzing all the vulnerabilities in a web services, so and getting the information about the versions of web services. So if some version is older and there is some vulnerability present in that, we can exploit that. So this is the objective of this lab. So our first objective would be to identify the hosts which are available and to get some information about the services which are running on that host or the version of operating system that they are using, and get some other information about the services that they are using. So first we will be finding out the available host on the network. So for the command for that will be nmap minus sn. We will specify the IP range in which we have to find the host. We can find out these various nmap commands here, or can type in Google to find out all the nmap commands. Like -sn is used to find the host available. -ss is used to get information about ports which are open on that network that we have specified. And -sv is to get the information about the services provided by a specific browser like Apache version. And -a is to get the information about the operating system version, computer MAC address, and other information. So we can see these all nmap commands here also, like -sp perform a ping only scan, and other commands like disable version DNS, -ss TCP SYN scan, and other commands here like -sv that we have to perform to get the service version detection, the version that are being used by the services. So these are commands, some of these commands we will be using in this lab. So we must have prior knowledge of nmap commands. So first of all, we will be finding out all the available host on a network. So when we run this command here, it will take some time. So here we can see that nmap scan report. For this, we will get 3 hosts which are available with their MAC address corresponding to that. So we have get the 3 hosts which are available in this network. We will be using these 2 hosts, but here we only get information about the hosts which are available, but not the ports which are open on these hosts. So to get the information about about the the ports that are open on this host, we will be using this command -sss. So we will be typing out here 168.77.200. Now we will get information about the ports which are available on IP 200 and 230, which we get above, as the first host we get was 200 and the second was 230. So we perform nmap scan on these two IPs, 200 and 230, and get information about the ports which are open on these systems. So for the first system, we get the port 80 TCP open HTTP, which is using the service HTTP. And for the second, we get an open port, that is 9943, and we doesn't get any information about the service which is being used by this port. And this same is written here, information. Uh, you can also see a specific, or if we have to see a specific range of port, then we can perform -p and mention the port range like 02655535. But here we have to find out all the ports that are open. So here also 2 ports are open, and here also 2 ports are open. So we have get the information about the ports which are open on the given host or target. Now we will get some information about the version. So for that, we will specify v here, and we will get some information about the version being used. So here we get information regarding that OpenSSH 7.2, Protocol 2.0, and Apache 2.4.18 Ubuntu, and MAC address also specified. And here also Apache, Fedora, OpenSSL. It is using OpenSSL while the above is not using that to make connections, and other information regarding the same, which is also specified here. HTTP service on port 80 is running on Apache Server 2.4.18, which is specified here. Apache 2.4.18 Ubuntu. Nmap tells us that service on port is also web service. It is also web service specified by this 99443, but it happened to be on non-standard port. Finally, now we have got the information about the port by specifying -SSS, and get some information about the version that are being used by them using the command -sv. Now we will get some information about the operating system and type of computer that are being used by them. So for this we have to specify -a instead of -sv. Now it is running the scan. So here we achieve our first objective. We get the information about the computer and the operating system it is using. Here we can get it is using Linux kernel, network distance, running Linux 3.x.0, and device type is general purpose, like the computer that he is using is general purpose computer. And the encryption algorithm also we get RSA SSH host key, that is also being specified here. Ubuntu operating system, MAC address, system information, service info. Step this one also is general purpose, and kernel 3.3 network distances. So we get all this information about the services, the two hosts that we have scanned for, and information about that general purpose and same Ubuntu and Linux. So our objective was achieved. First we find out available host, then we find out the ports that are open on those hosts, then we get some version about the services used by the host, and then we get about the operating system and other information about our target or host. Now, before achieving our second objective, we must note that for the first host, we find out that it is using port 80, which is open and using the service HTTP. And for the second host, we discovered that it is using port 9943, which is unknown port, and we doesn't get information about the same. Now, to get more information about the what is being used by the first host on port 80 HTTP, we will be uh, going to our second task. So for that we will be making connection to that server using the telnet command. So we will be connected to that server on the host, that is 0.200, which is our first host, which is using port 80, and HTTP service is running on that. So here we write the command telnet and specify the host IP and specify the port, which is 80, and here we specify add HTTP 1.0 and press enter twice. Now we will get now we have achieved our second objective and get more information about the service being which is running on port 8080, that is HTTP service, and give us information that the server is Apache this, e tag, accept range, content length, and accepted encoding, content type and connection close, date timing, means all the information regarding the service running on port 8080. So our second objective was this only, to get more information about the service running on that port by making a connection using the telnet command. Now we have achieved our first and second objective, that is we have identified the network hosts which are available and find out the open ports and version that they are using, and also get some information about the specific port by using the telnet command and make connection with that. Now our third objective would be to scan our web server with the Nikto to get information and find out vulnerable and outdated web server or version specific program to find out potential dangerous threats that can be possible. So for that we will be using our Nikto tool. So for first of all we will be starting our Wireshark to so that we can analyze our packet. So here we start by clicking here blue button, and it will start capturing all the packets that will be sent from here, and then we will be using this Nikto command to scan our target. Nikto Nikto -h and specify the target IP. Now after some time we will be prompted to submit header information, and we will be typing N and press enter. Now we will go to Wireshark, analyze what our Nikto has performed. Now we will stop our Wireshark from here. We can also analyze the output from here, that the server which it is using is this one, and other vulnerabilities present in the web server, which is anti-hijacking frame option is not present, XSS protection header is not defined, the header can hint to the user. Means these are the vulnerability present in the web server or the services running on that host. Server leak information via etag header with file this, and the X content type option header is not set. This could allow user agent to render no CGI directories found. So Nikto tool will list all the vulnerability present in that web server using this command. Now we will analyze what Nikto has done to get this information by using the Wireshark. So we will go to statistics tab on the top one, and then HTTP. Then we will go to HTTP requests. So here we see the request made by Nikto to that web server. So from here we see that Nikto sent thousands of HTTP requests as it crawled the website looking for information. So what Nikto does, it sent thousands of requests to web server to get the information about the web server and the service information or the vulnerability present in the web server. So from here we find out that Nikto has sent thousand of requests to that service by using different methods. Now we have closed the statistic bar and look for a specific packet. So we specify TCP dot port equal to 80. Now here we will filter out all the packets that we have captured on port 80, and here we get all the packets that are captured by Nikto, that are captured by Wireshark. Uh, so here we can click on any HTTP request and follow TCP stream to get more information about the request sent by the Nikto to that web server. So here we can get all the information sent by Nikto to that web server. Now this is here we can see that this is the HTTP header line. So here we will specify which browser has made connection with the web server. So here this is our Mozilla which made connection with the host or web server. And here Nikto identify itself as the source of HTTP request. Means the HTTP request was sent by Nikto, and it doesn't hide this information. Here it is also mentioned in the right side. Notice Nikto identify itself as the source of HTTP request, as Nikto is tool responsible for security tester and by therefore does not attempt to hide its information. That is, Nikto doesn't hide its information and provide web server the information that this request was sent by Nikto. And notice invasion is none in the user agent. This means Nikto is not making. Now here we can see that invasion is none, means it is not avoiding the intrusion detection system. So intrusion detection system is running and we cannot uh, scan for uh, scan for hidden files and other things which are available on that web server. But in the later part, we will be accessing them by providing evasion a value. So for now, we have seen that Nikto doesn't hide. So for points that are important is that Nikto doesn't hide in its information, and we can specify evasion value so that if we have to bypass the intrusion detection system or not. So we will close this, and now we perform a scan second time, but this time we will provide evasion value, which in the previous section we have not provided. Now this time we will be performing a scan by providing evasion value, which is 2. So perform same scan again. Now it will also read hidden file present in that services and other requests which are not able to perform previously. So we will now analyze our output in Wireshark, and our second objective is achieved, that we have analyzed the web application by using the Nikto tool and get information about the web server and services being used. So first we will stop Wireshark, and again we will select any HTTP packets. But now we can see here that we can see when Nikto is we will notice that HTTP GET request now begin with slash dot slash slash, that we can see here, get slash dot slash HTTP. Nikto may be able to evade detection by IDS looking for access to forbidden file. Now we will be able to avoid intrusion detection system and can access the certain forbidden file that we cannot access in the previous request. So if we click on any HTTP request and follow, I think we have clicked on TCP, yes. Click on any HTTP request, follow TCP stream, then we can analyze output. Here it is also specify evasion equal to 2, while in the previous case it is written as evasion equal to none. Now it can bypass intrusion detection system and can access forbidden files or hidden files which are present on the services that are being used by the host or the target. So our second objective was simply this, to analyze and get information about the web server by using the Nikto tool. Now our third objective is also achieved. Now we will forward our lab to the fourth objective. Now for the brief, first we have identified our network hosts which are available. Then we will specify the ports which are open on those hosts, that is two hosts 200 and 230. So for the first host we get port 80 which is open, and for the second host we get port 9943 which is unknown port which is open. And secondly we will uh, uh, perform a telnet command to get more information about port 8080 and the services and version used by that. Then we perform a scan using the Nikto tool on the first host. Now this scan and telnet scan was performed on the first host 200, which is using port 8080 to get the service. Now we will perform a SSL scan on our second host, which is dot 230, which is running a unknown services on port 9943. So our next objective is to run nmap scan to find vulnerability on port on second host, which is dot 230, which is using the service on port 9943. So we will perform a scan on this minus 168.1 cents. Now to get the information about the version this is using, we again use the command minus sv. It is running. So here we also get that it is using Apache HTTP. Oh, and uh, important information is it is using OpenSSL to make connection, which is also specified on the right side. It uses OpenSSL for HTTP connection. So we can find the all the vulnerabilities which is present in this OpenSSL version. Like we have seen example of heartbleed vulnerability, which is find out in OpenSSL to get the initial access of the system. So we can perform this here. So to perform a SSL scan, we will type out command 192 point and specify the target IP 230, then specify the port, which is 9943. And we can see that the positive finding are shown in green, warning in yellow, and problems will be shown in red. And we can see that if SSL scan flag is shown in red, it shows that it is self-signed certificate. That is, it is not signed by a certification authority, but is self-signed by the person who is running the services on his computer. So we can analyze here on the left side that we have get all the information about the SSL services and version and certificates being used by the second host, which is using 9943. So here we can get all the information is not vulnerable to heartbleed that we have discussed. That is means it is finding out all the vulnerabilities that can be present on that web server. TLS failback, server support TLS failback. Here we can see secure session, ignored support. So and zipper being used by this. So all this information we can get signature algorithm, RSA key strength, subject and issuer. So here we can see issuer is shown in red and same IP is being used. That is, it is a self-signed certificate, because if SSL scan flag is shown in red, it means that it is self-signed and is not signed by a certification authority. So now we will use Nikto to get more information about the server. So we'll perform Nikto scan, Nikto minus H, and specify the IP. And on port 9943. And we have achieved our fourth objective also. It is running the scan and taking some time. Here we get more information about the scan, and it must leak some names of the files and directory. Here we can see that require authentication for this. Now we have to submit N and enter. So now we will see that this Nikto has identified additional problem with this server, including the fact that it leaks names of the files and directory. So we can see here that it leaks names of the files and directory. When we run the Nikto scan, here we can see that the anti-hijacking X-frame option header is not present, which can be used by the attacker to exploit this vulnerability. XSS header is not defined. Site uses SSL and the strict transport layer HTTP header is not defined. X content header is not set. This could be used by user to render the content of a site in different fashion. Man in the middle attack type. Host name does not match certificate name. And other vulnerability like this. icons directory indexing not found, leaks index header found with this, means it is leaking the information regarding the directories and files which are present in this web server or service used by this host. So this is all for this objective, that we have performed a SSL scan uh, on the second host, which is using 994, which is using service unknown service on port 9943. Then we perform a Nikto scan to get more information and the vulnerability present in that web server. Now we will come to our last objective. Now we have seen that Nikto can produce a lot of output that is difficult to study, as it requires a lot of scrolling in terminal. We have seen that all the Nikto command will be run in the terminal, but it will be difficult to understand what Nikto is trying to examine and what it want to convey and the vulnerability present in the system. It will not be in the readable form. So Nikto has its subparts that provide that can produce reports in HTML, CSV, or XML formats, which is more in the readable form. That is, we all the vulnerabilities which we found here can also be produced in a format of report which is more readable or presentable, or can be presented to the other person. So for that, we will output all the vulnerabilities in an HTML file. So the command for that is -o report.html. It is specifying that Nikto can perform all the vulnerability scan on this IP, and all the vulnerability that will be present in that IP can be output in the file report.html. So we will press enter. So here it will perform scan and output all the vulnerabilities that will be present on the first host, and will output all those vulnerability in report.html file. Now we can view the report in the Firefox, which will be the more readable form. So it is opening and our last objective is also achieved. So here we can see that the report we get will be in more readable form, which is specifying that the target IP was this, target hostname was this, it is using this server, site link was this, and target port was 80, and first method was get method, which leaves information regarding the file this, which we already get by using the commands in the terminal, and second vulnerability anti clickjacking xframe. So here it is more in the readable form, which is not present in the terminal interface. The x-axis protection header is not defined. So all these vulnerability scan summaries also defined here. So this is all for this lab, that we so we can summarize what we have performed in this lab. Uh, first we identify the available host in the given network range by using this IP. Then we scan for open ports by using this command, the ports that are open on these two hosts. Then we get some information about the host by using the -s version command, and we get the information about the operating system version and other type of computer that is being used by using -a command. Then we make a connection with the web server by using the telnet command and get more information about the service using port 80. Then we perform a scan with Nikto and analyze the output by using the Wireshark. So we get more information about the web server and see the difference between evasion none and specifying the evasion value, so that we can bypass intrusion detection system according to our needs. Then we perform a scan, SSL enable scan, to find out if the server is vulnerable to any vulnerability related to OpenSSL and its previous version. And then we perform the same scan by using the Nikto command and get more information about the target or host. Then we found out that Nikto has ability to produce output in a readable format, so can be presented to the others. So it can produce reports in HTML, CSV, and XML formats, which is more readable format. And then we perform a scan by using Nikto on first host and output the report in the report.html, and then we view the report in report.html. So what we learn in this lab in 30 seconds is that we can, by performing this lab, we know how to get information about the host or system and the service being used by that system. So this information can be used by attacker to gain initial access to the system. So for example, if the attacker get information that there is some older version of SSL running on the system, so he can exploit that vulnerability and get initial access to the system, or can get some information that Apache this version is using, which can be exploited, or some operating system version, or by performing Niktos can get initial access to some other files, so he can get that this can be exploited. So this tool is used for this purpose. So this is all for this lab, and thank you.